welcome to Club Fuck It Bucket, the place where we come together and talk about moments in our lives when we wanted to do something, take a risk, explore a new career, move across the country, whatever it is. And maybe everyone and everything in our life and the universe was saying, don't do that. It's just too risky. And then we're like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to see what happens. And so today we have an amazing guest. And Chris Antoline is going to join us and talk to us about his sales career. If you're here, drop a comment. Let us know that you're here. Ask questions, engage with us. But right now, we're going to bring out Chris. Come on out.
Hey.
Hey, I'm so excited to have you here.
Great to be here.
So I have to ask, I was going through all of the stuff that you sent over, and before we get started, we have a couple of interesting intersections in our lives. Where did you grow up in Pennsylvania?
So I've got ties to both sides, but I grew up outside of Pittsburgh, just north of Pittsburgh.
Yeah. All right. I don't tell many people this. I say that as I'm live with however many people come and watch. It's a big secret. It's not really a big secret, but I lived in Altoona, Pennsylvania for 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
But it's wasn't my favorite place. Of all the 19 cities that I've lived in my life, a couple countries, it was probably my least favorite. So
you've got 19 cities in a couple countries. It's okay that Altoona isn't super, super high on the list. No offense to Altoona, but
nope.
You had some coverage.
No. But if you've ever been to Altoona, there is the one thing that I think that I miss from there is that there's this weensy tiny little Italian restaurant that makes homemade noodles. And it's one of those where I can close my eyes and still taste how amazing that food tastes. Sims, let's fuck this bucket. Thanks, Sims. Thanks for popping in with that one. I just always love, if you don't know Sims, he's amazing. And actually, I think close to where you are you still in Charlotte, Chris?
I'm in Richmond, Midlothian, but I'm in Richmond.
Oh, you're in Richmond.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. We have to get coffee. So, okay. Well, let's get started here. You have a solid history of kind of coming to moments in your life where you're I have to do a thing. I don't know what thing that I'm going to do. So fuck it. I'm just going to plow forward and see what happens. And your very first one was after you graduated from college and you were hey, now I got to do something. I got to make money. Was this a first moment for you where you just kind of had a fuck it moment? I'm going to try something. Or was this this is how you kind of were as a kid as well. And this was par for the course.
I think it's more one of the firsts.
Okay.
I was a little more cautious as a kid, but I would say going into college and selecting where I was going to go. And I started thinking I was going into computer engineering. I was accepted into Virginia Tech to be a computer engineer.
Okay.
And then, whoa, go in business, which switched everything else up. So I made a couple of those decisions, but as a kid, not on the regular. Okay.
So then was it just circumstances that all of the sudden, Thomas, my erstwhile cousin from Louisville, Kentucky, knows every interesting fact about every geography anywhere, I think. So was it just circumstances warranted it for you that kind of pushed you into this mindset of let's just see what happens? Or
yeah, I felt at the time, graduating from college, business degree, I was just looking around, right? I was trying to find my way, probably still am many years later. But I think a big part of me felt I grew up in Pennsylvania and lived there my whole life. Went to college in Pennsylvania. I just if I don't go somewhere now, then I maybe never will. So that was the voice in the back of my head saying you just got to go do something, be somewhere else, and then other things will follow. So I had a buddy who was still wrapping up school at UNC Charlotte. I wasn't finding much traction in the job search world in the Pittsburgh area. So I was like, fuck it. I'm moving down to Charlotte. I'm just driving down there and then I'm going to figure it out.
Right. Okay. That's
So,
cool. And so I mean that's a pretty big move. So you just packed up all your stuff. You went, you didn't really have like something completely lined up, but you had an idea of what you were going to do. So when you got to Charlotte, like what happened? Did you just start like knocking on doors and handing out resumes or
literally, yeah, I did that, and I did whatever you did back then too to job search. Like I don't remember what services were around, but did all the online stuff.
nothing?
And I know this is
There was
2000.
seriously like that was that MySpace, right? Like Facebook was just starting to kind of become a thing, but like we were all still on MySpace at that point.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you have a top 8 friends on your?
I didn't do much in MySpace. Facebook came around when I was in college. My girlfriend, now wife, girlfriend at the time, introduced me to it. Our school got it. I was surprised. So yeah, but I don't even think I made the connection there. I found I was just going for like what's a good sales gig that I can do that's going to get me into Charlotte. That's going to help me explore my skills, and I found something. Just I don't even know if people do this anymore because we don't print anything, but I sold those like big bulky copiers, those like multi-function.
Yeah.
They're pretty damn expensive too. So I was like,
Really
yeah, I'm gonna
expensive.
go sling some big plastic boxes, and
Yeah.
what I did.
There you go. I will tell you that I did that for like maybe 2 weeks. So anybody that could hold out. In fact, I don't know if you're connected with Dale Dupree. He does the Sales Rebellion on LinkedIn. If you're not, he's amazing. But he was a copier warrior. And he talks about it, right? All the shit that he would do to get in. I did it for 2 weeks and I was like, you know what? This is too fucking hard. I'm going to go work for a company that lets me that brings me appointments.
A little
I'll just
warmer.
close them. Yeah, it's totally fine. So copy machines are the bane of everyone's existence, Chris Hennessy.
Apparently.
Um,
I enjoyed it.
so
I think at this time is when I really, looking back, I really gravitated toward understanding more about like, the positioning, a little bit of how it worked. I started getting into that. Eventually, I got into more of like a sales engineer, a sales solutioning kind of role. So
yeah,
that's kind of that foreshadowing, right? That I didn't know at the time. I wasn't a great salesperson. I could knock on 100 doors a day and get yelled at and told to go home and get the hell out of here. But I didn't. I did this for 13 months, and I just kind of like spun my wheels trying to figure out, all right, like, is this kind of the thing for me? Oh, while at the same time, in order to pay my rent and pay for food, I was hanging out at Dillard's on nights and weekends, working my way around to get my hourly wage coming in because my base salary wasn't nearly enough to live off of. It wasn't.
right. Yeah, and like you weren't making enough in commissions to like actually do the thing. But so this whole time now you're doing this, you're slinging copiers, you're rearranging clothes racks at Dillard's or whatever. I did gift wrapping for the cosmetics and perfume department. That was my kind of like moonlighting, make some money at a department store. But you've got a sweetheart, so your now wife at
Mm-hmm.
this point were you in college together or how did you all meet?
We met, long story, long distance, different school.
Okay.
So my school was very, very lame and conservative. Great school, loved the experience, but we had to travel to have our fun. So I drove from Grove City, Pennsylvania to Oxford, Ohio, where Miami of Ohio is, one
Okay.
weekend. So she went to Miami, Ohio, not
Yep.
and traveled with a couple of my buddies, and it was, I mean, mind was blown, right? I'm not used to any of this kind of stuff at my school. There's a pajama party. We're sitting there like sweats and t-shirts doing a power hour, and all of a sudden like 100 sorority girls in their pajamas or whatever walk in, and I swear my jaw had to be on the floor. So I was probably like blah, 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 blah. So fortunately she picked me out because I
Okay.
don't know what would have happened, started talking to me. Anyway, fast forward, here we are. But she was a year behind me in her college education. She's
Okay.
smarter than I am, just a year younger. And so she graduated a year after. So when I was in Charlotte, she was still finishing up her undergrad. And that's when we all thought she was going to move down to Charlotte. Maybe I did the copier thing or not. but
Okay.
she got a phenomenal opportunity recruited by Lockheed Martin to go to Denver, Colorado. And I'm like,
Right. Yeah. Which, so, okay. I have to ask though, was that a moment? I've been doing some research into some studies that are, like looking at relationships, especially like marriages with people who have like very different careers, and especially women who are kind of like moving into very kind of formal, successful careers at maybe a faster pace than their male partners. Was that a moment for you? Like, did you have a moment there where you're like, fuck, how am I going to keep up with this woman? Or like,
yeah. I mean, honestly speaking, I did. I don't remember an exact moment. Wow, there was never an I'm not good enough, but there was certainly, I think, a healthy pressure to perform. And it wasn't even being about like needing to be the breadwinner or needing that old school mentality of this, like, whichever way the household slants. But it was more about like, I wanted to be pulling my weight for sure.
Right.
Out of respect for her, the relationship, and what we wanted for our future. So yeah, the guy who's not quite successfully slinging copiers in Charlotte, my wife goes out to get into the Lockheed HR business development program. I was like, well, I guess I got a lot of time left in my life. I could figure this shit out.
Yeah. Let's get my shit together. So you were like, I'm leaving North Carolina. You pack up your car. This is my favorite thing. Like, it's 2007. How, like, you print out directions on MapQuest, right, to drive your ass to Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, I had like a short book of pages of directions for a 24-hour drive to Denver from Charlotte in my little 2-door Acura Integra hatchback.
That is amazing. So I had just moved to Boston around that time. I was in sales. I was selling packaging equipment and supplies, so like stretch wrap machines, shrink wrap machines, those types of things. And I was out like hitting the streets, and my dad got me a TomTom, and that thing was like amazing as long as you weren't driving in Boston, because the streets change all the time. Like, it's always construction, it's always big dig something, right? And it would end up like I drove more wrong ways down one-way streets with my TomTom. It was probably a good thing that somebody finally busted out the window and stole it, like, because otherwise I was gonna cause a wreck. Okay.
It's not a great city to be like not driving down the right streets in. I'm not even talking unsafe, just angry drivers.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a reason why they call them massholes. Like, that's a thing, right? So once again, so this is now the second time in your life that you've packed your car, you've taken a many hours road trip to go move somewhere, and you don't have a job lined up again?
Yeah, the copier gods that
Fuck,
I was
you're
working
like,
for, they were like,
you
you can work for us out there. And I was kind of like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna find something different, but I appreciate it. So no, I just went out. I forgot this story. Facebook, way before Marketplace came back, like Facebook Classifieds. That's how I found my room for rent. My girlfriend at the time, Ashley, now wife, found this listing for a 1-bedroom and his 2-bedroom condo for rent. And she went and checked it out. And then I signed the papers digitally over email or whatever. And so I was just like moving in with this guy I hadn't met before. Like, yeah, at that point in my life, it just didn't matter. I was like, all right, I'm doing a thing. That's what this whole thing's about, right?
And you and Ashley didn't move in together. Like,
we didn't. No, we were a couple miles apart. But
okay.
I mean, let's look at it this way. We had been dating for a few years at that point, 5 hours long distance in college.
Yeah.
And, many hours from Denver to Charlotte. So it's like, if we're going to be close, it was also something that we felt like, let's wait on that part. It's something that we wanted to do. And
okay.
it was
so you moved in with like a potential serial killer instead, which makes total sense. At least it wasn't Craigslist.
No, he ended up, he's one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet. Still a great friend. David Malidi, love you, brother. He is He was like the boisterous beer salesman because he worked for the Boston Beer Company and still does to this day.
That's
Just
awesome.
like the type of guy that would bring you in and just love you, take care of you, and yeah, he's great. So it ended up working out perfectly because that could have been a whole different part of the story that.
Yeah, no, you might not have even been here, right? Like you could be buried under the floorboards, but you're here, and so you got to Colorado. You move in with the serial killer. You've unpacked everything. You're looking for a job. You got to pay the rent. What do?
I'm gonna wait some tables, and I worked retail already. So why not? I worked in a kitchen in high school and college too. So like, why not get to the front of the house instead of the heart of the house? So I went up to Ted's Montana Grill, bison burgers and house-made pickles.
Pickles.
Just tried to make some money while I was finding that next thing.
Okay, all right. But this is my favorite part of the story is like you're slinging burgers on the tables. You're looking for a new sales gig and you suffer from like some sort of sales amnesia. Everyone who's been in sales has suffered from this in the past. So you're like, your mind blanks out, you forget the pain of copier sales, and you accept a job selling what?
Online Yellow Pages ads.
Wait, how many people do you think, like younger viewers today, how many do you think know what the fuck a Yellow Pages is?
This many? I mean, yeah. So just so you know, a Yellow Page, like this is even small, right? But
yeah,
massive page, a massive bound book with names of businesses from literally A to Z. And it was that was the listing, right? Pre-internet. And so it was evolving into digital. So we're like, online Yellow Pages. Yes, it's the thing.
When I started in sales, I would do two things. The first is I would go to the library and I would get out. They had these massive books of the listings of all of the businesses in certain area, like zip codes. And so I would go and I would mark with like sticky notes which ones, and then I would do 5 cent per page copies of the business information. And then I would drive to the business and like call on them, cold call them. Yeah. But then also the Yellow Pages was awesome because you could do it by like you could get like plumber, you could look up plumber and then it would have like all the plumbers or whatever, the real one. And so I would get them and I would literally like tear out the pages and circle the companies. And I would be in my car with my TomTom, like driving around trying to figure out where I was going to go cold call. The pain is real. There's a reason why I work in a business today that only brings in like inbound leads.
Real.
Yeah.
At least like sales qualified leads. Yeah. We called out of the Yellow Pages print. So like Mondays were call days, in the office the whole day. You're making, and I'm not exaggerating, you're making hundreds of calls. Yeah. You're going like, all right, today I'm on florists. All right, put the florist hat on. Like a beautiful florist, like, because it was all by alphabetical at that point. So
right.
I just remember like, all right, I'm calling down and you're just calling them saying like, hey, I see you have a listing here. Have you? And they just, that was so much more brutal than the copier sales. Because at least in the copier sales, like, I had current customers that I could go see. I was selling something that I didn't know a ton about, but there was value. They needed it, right? I could save them money, could switch up their financing options, whatever. This was just a grind.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so much easier to be a dick to somebody on the phone than it is whenever they're in person, right? So like that SDR world can get really, really hard. And it's hard too. Like they didn't have auto dialers like they have now. They didn't have, you're as SDRs now, it's different. You get this, it's hard. Like I could not do that job. Full stop. Could not be an SDR today. But they have all of these really neat different platforms where when they call, like it tells you who you're going to talk to, what their role is, a little bit about the business, like all of this. When you're calling out of a phone book for phone book advertising, Like you've got nothing except just hangups.
Hang-ups. I had a BlackBerry, but that didn't tell me anything.
Oh yeah, no, man, I miss my BlackBerry. I
One
had the
book
red
and
one.
BlackBerries. Yeah, but it was brutal, and so I could take a no, but it was just beating me down. And
Right.
there were other things about. I worked with some amazing people I'm still connected with today, but it was a struggle for me for sure.
Yeah. That's hard. It takes a very special set of skills to be able to do that. So how long did you last?
Well, if I include the 2-week training in California, it was about 2 months.
Okay.
I didn't give it the year plus go that I did the copiers. It brought me to a point. It was, you needed 16 meetings a week between Tuesday and Friday. If you didn't have that, you were on the weekly PIP, performance improvement plan, which meant you had like more night dialing. I was working pretty much 7 days a week, calling from my bedroom in my non-serial killer roommate's condo on Saturday mornings, just like plumbers today. And all through this, I didn't have a sense of like strong belief in what I was selling. It was just, and so it started really tearing at me internally in a way that I couldn't bring myself to really start picking up the phone and calling one more person. It just brought me down.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so hard. So you leave and you are once again like, now this is what, the third time in 2 years?
But I didn't move cities. But
you didn't move cities, but the third time in 2 years that you have left the job and you don't have something lined up.
Yep.
You're so fucking brave. I love you. What did you do?
Well, I did retail, did service. I valeted cars. Why not?
Hey, why not? The tips are good. You don't have to claim them on your taxes back then.
Yeah, I would figure out ways around that. This is being recorded, right? But we had Virginia who would come in at least once a week, maybe twice. We always put her vehicle up front because she tipped the $100 bill every time she was there. It's like,
nice.
So yeah,
nice.
Yeah. I mean, again, something that I needed to do something while I was looking for the next thing. So I valeted cars, and I found a 3-month contract position with a local marketing agency that was running a smoking cessation campaign.
Okay.
So we went to like schools, universities, other events, and we handed out branded, like we actually even had lighters that said, quit doing it. But then on the backside, it had like, I do it behind my girlfriend's back. Like it had funny slogans because we were trying to use that. Like, if you're going to smoke, here's a lighter that might make you laugh. But you about smoking, and it had the quit line phone number on it. So it's like, just go in and meet them where they are, right?
That's amazing. That is the best thing I've ever heard.
I should have brought one to this show.
Oh my God. That's so cool.
I do it even though it burns. That was the black one. There was a blue one that said something. Yeah, I was just like,
all the stuff. Okay. And so meanwhile, like Ashley is over here just like killing it at Lockheed Martin, doing her thing. You're going to college campuses and giving out lighters to people you're also telling to quit smoking. You're the type of enablement friend I need. I'm so glad that you live here in Richmond because I feel like we're gonna tear it up a little bit. You're looking for like, what is the next thing for me? Did you have like, was in your brain like, this next one's gotta be the thing? Like, it's time for me to find like my grown up fucking job that I can do.
Yeah. I know a lot of people could take a beating and get back up. That's the beauty of being human, right? And it takes a lot around you to be able to do that. But after a certain number of beatings, you just feel like, oh, where's my value? And like, I tried to be something I'm not. Who am I? My career doesn't need to make me who I am, but this next one's gotta be something good, or else I think I would have been really crushed if it wasn't.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, it was something really good.
So. It was it, right? You put it out in the universe. You like manifested this for yourself. So like you're traveling around, you're giving out lighters, and you find something that could be a thing.
Yep. The company was called the Fuel Team, right? So fuel the fire.
You'll light it on fire.
Well, yeah, I had like hundreds of lighters. I could fuel it. And the position, it was just like this ambiguous sales associate role. And I was like, all right, I'll check it out. It was on, I think, one of the memorable moments, if that makes sense. It was on a website for Andrew Hudson's jobs list. And so he was a well-connected guy out in the greater Denver area. And so it wasn't like just going to Monster or Indeed or any of those. It was very well curated, especially at the time. So it's like, oh, it's here. There's got to be something to it. So fast forward, get into the interview process. Fuel team, sales associate. It was the environment that I needed to grow. My boss is also one of the greatest people that I've been fortunate to know. His name is D Rambo.
Okay.
D Rambo, and he's got this.
That's an amazing. That's like Mr. T meets Rambo.
And he does like podcasts. He's got a voice for radio, and he not a face for radio. You beautiful D, but but it's just like when I got there, it felt like home, and they really embodied their mission and the values and the culture. I was probably employee number like 15-ish. Okay. So tech startup that had a great partnership, and that just really brought me into a sense of here's where I am. Like I belong here, and it really launched my career, what it is.
Right. That's amazing. And so you continue to do that. When did y'all move to Richmond?
In 2018.
Okay.
Did have a job when I moved. I kept my job. This was pre-COVID, but
okay.
Dee and Jason Keller were the co-founders of the Fuel team. So I joined back up with Jason a number of years back, another tech startup. And so I started there with him in Denver and then made the move and stayed on through that.
Okay. All right. We moved to Richmond around the same time, my first time here.
Yeah.
And so, but you've had another shift that just happened recently.
Yeah.
And so now you're kind of channeling some of those experiences that you had before. What's going on? Like you moved here, you've had a good run with the founders of the Fuel team, and things just changed in the last month for you.
Yeah. So I took a different role. I went to another company in March of 21. Okay. And yes, so then just recently, so that was departing from Jason, Fuel team founder, but staying involved, of course. Had a lot in that company and love it. But just recently, as we all know what's going on right now, I was part of the swinging axe, if you will. Now, and there's certainly no ill will, and I'm not beating myself up too much because anyone who's in this situation,
right?
You can't do that. However, I do have the perspective of, are there things I could have done differently or better? The answer is always yes. That would have had a different outcome. And I'm using this time now to really focus on that. I mean, I need a damn job, but
right.
It's like there are aspects that I liked about what I was doing. There were things that I wasn't pulling my weight on so well. And now I have this time to really reflect on that. And now go get after it again. But I'm not yet. I'm not flipping the burgers or serving the burgers yet, but I am not.
But you could if you wanted to, yeah. Right?
That's right.
So what do you want to be when you grow up?
I love the connection aspect of whatever I'm doing. I've been pretty much in tech company landscapes, large and small, but I think it's really the partnerships, both internally and externally, that drive me. So I've done some great business development and go to market that I love, just like bringing an idea and taking it out, but getting that message out to the people that use it, but aligning with the sales team and doing that enablement, getting down with them into how do we make sure that you're comped properly. So really orchestrating something that goes to market. I've done some product management, sales engineering, kind of being that go-to, not necessarily the sales guy, because we know I'm not Chris the sales guy, but
yeah.
I can play that role where I bring my strengths to internal and external, across the board. I like really integrating with teams.
I love that. I love that. Well, all right. So for anybody who wants to connect with you, because you're amazing, and for anybody who has a role for Chris, who's a jack of all trades, a Chris of all trades, I guess, right? Like, I will tell you that the best people I've ever hired in my life are the ones who, there's a TED Talk, it's by Emily Wapnick, and it's called, I can't remember what it's called, but she talks about being a multi-potentialite, like people who have had all kinds of different careers and are able to assimilate all of their experiences and their knowledge and kind of connect dichotomous information in interesting ways because of that. Those are always the best, right? So if anybody's looking to just connect and build a relationship, or if they're hiring right now, where do they find you?
I'm here on LinkedIn, Chris Antoline, Antoline. I wish they never Americanized it. Antoline.
Yeah, like I said it wrong, so I apologize. But I kind of feel like I love Antoline is just like Antoline. Okay, Antoline.
Anyway. Yep. So LinkedIn's probably the best spot, and then my email is easy. It's christopher.antoline@gmail. So
awesome.
Find me. I'm here. I love just like figuring out ways to help people too. So I'm here in a capacity right now where I can give back to spending more time with my kids. So if you're looking for advice, you're kind of one of those, hey, we're at that startup, but trying to figure that next scale phase.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. We went like way over too, because I love your story. So it's fine for us. Doesn't matter. And I think we had quite a few people who stuck around with us. So thank you for joining us. And everybody connect with Chris. He's amazing. At the very least, he can teach you how to use a phone book. And at the very most, he can help you to strategize your revenue intelligence and revenue growth, but also just like a good, amazing human. So, and adventuresome. So we will see you on Friday, Club Fuck It Bucket. Hope you have a great rest of the week.
Thank you, April.